What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Dazzle video. Today we're going to be going over patch 7.40 and take a look at our new hero, Largo. New heroes are always really exciting. This is a new hero. His name is Largo. He's a frog with a little guitar thing. I forget the name of this instrument. He strums a little tune. Very interesting hero. Now, what I have seen over the couple games that I played with and against him is that he's fairly tanky. So he's kind of like this. He's a strength hero. He's a guy that kind of runs in. He's very survivable. He's got a lot of different skills. So he has a very unique ult. You have to strum your guitar. You have to press these buttons on rhythm or else you get punished and then your buff kind of ends. So each of these three ults has a separate buff. So one of them is a attack damage buff, another one is a movement speed buff, and then the last one is a heal buff. He's a support hero, but he's a very tanky support hero. He's got a lot of auras, so he's an aura support. He has a dispel that's going to dictate a lot of when we cast our spells and our offensive potential against that hero. So for example, if I'm going to be aggressive against this Largo on the enemy team, I want to make sure that he's already cast his Q, and then I can be offensive against him with my poison touch, or else if he has a charge of his catchy lick, his Q, he can just dispel it immediately. This is kind of very similar to Oracle, Legion Commander, Slark, any of these heroes that have a dispel that's built in. Abaddon comes to mind. He also has a little bit of like a tiny avalanche type deal. He has like a stun where every enemy in this little circle gets stunned. This is great against things like canceling Black Hole, CM ult from far away, any channeled ability. Also, just like Tiny's Avalanche, basically. But he can cast it and walk away. And lastly, we have his E, Croak of Genius, which has this new term called Reverberate. Reverberate, I'm not exactly sure what it means, but I do know that it synergizes really well with Poison Touch. So with our level 4 Poison Touch, with all of our talents leveled up, we do around 1300 damage. Now with Croak of Genius, however, now we do close to 1700 damage. Right now, I see this hero being a 4 or 5. Because he's very survivable, he's going to be good in a lot of roles. Maybe some people play him as a offlaner. I don't think he does a ton of damage, but he's just very survivable. I think he's a really fun hero with tons of utility. A couple notes here on his catchy lick. So he does have his shard, which grants buffs that he applies to his allies to himself. All right, so the question becomes, if he casts Catchy Lick on an ally, does he also get the basic dispel? And the answer is no. It is important to note, though, that at level 25, he will get 2 dispel charges. So he gets 2 Catchy Licks. That's going to be important to keep note of. Unfortunately, it does not look like any of his ults works with our ult. I don't think the game recognizes our projection as a hero. He doesn't get additional magic damage, he doesn't get spell amp, he doesn't get movement speed, he doesn't get any heal or anything like that. It only affects the main hero. So that kind of sucks. I'm almost certain that this is a bug. You can no longer nullify units that are already in the air. Okay, so if this guy is already in the air, I can't cast Nullify on him. However, you can still cast a Nullify, which will immediately nullify the Eul Scepter. Darkseer's Vacuum is no longer able to vacuum us. It's harder to push high ground. I think this is going to prioritize objectives like Roshan, our banner, maybe items like AC, Vlad's, aura items are going to be a little more important. And Dazzle is a great aura buying hero. I think as Dazzles, especially if you're playing like a mid Dazzle or an offlane Dazzle, even like a position 4 Dazzle, you can still really consider buying a lot of these aura items. So these are items like AC, Shiva's, Vlad's, Crimson Guard. Dazzle is a hero that we always want to make sure we know what the enemy vision looks like, and we want to know what our vision looks like. Dazzle is a very vision-based hero. Very important to know that illusions have 800 daytime vision and 400 nighttime vision. To put into perspective, Dazzle has 1800 daytime vision and 800 nighttime vision. So the vision is very decreased for a lot of these illusion heroes. So Naga comes to mind, who would just scatter her illusions and get tons of vision all over the map. There are other heroes like Treant, which we'll talk about down below, whose vision game also got changed and reworked. So this is very important for Dazzles to keep track of, especially if you're playing against these vision heroes. Really, really like this ping. Tormentor ping, same as a Roshan ping. Tormentor is very powerful, but it's very hard to get your team together to take it. So I think this will be a really positive change for everyone. The terrain changes, yeah, there are some trees removed and some watcher locations were changed. I don't think it's going to affect the game too much. The Wisdom rune is on the low ground, so it's going to be, I guess, a little bit different, easier to scout. A quick note on Dazzle's ult, you can actually take the Wisdom with your ult, so you still get the experience there. So just want to point that out. So in terms of items, our first main item that we want to pay attention to is Ghost Scepter. Now your penalty for casting Ghost Scepter has gone down. You don't take as much extra magical damage. So it's a slight buff to Ghost Scepter. However, they heavily nerfed E-Blade. So you don't get the cast range from Ether Lens anymore. You just get a lot more stats. It requires an ultimate orb, so it will make you tankier. For Dazzle, having the Ether Lens was a big deal because you can cast, Shallow Grave from far away and stay out of the fight. So I think this is an overall nerf to Ghost Scepter and E-Blade for us Dazzles. Small little changes here and there. So like because Shadow Amulet's cost got decreased, Glimmer Cape also got decreased, but it's just 100 gold. Crimson Guard is no longer dispellable, which is an interesting change. It's a buff to Crimson Guard. Like I said before, I think Dazzle should consider buying Crimson Guard in some games. Also, Boots of Bearing could be good. Guardian Greaves is always a solid choice for Dazzle because it gives you a dispel. It synergizes well with your heal. They did nerf it. Okay, so it no longer provides armor, additional bonuses for your team, but you still get the buffs. However, it's much cheaper. 650 gold for support Dazzles is the big deal. If you played Knockleboon Dazzle, you were almost certainly buying Guardian Greaves, and I think this is going to be an overall buff to us because we're going to still buy it anyway, but we're just going to get it 650 gold earlier. All right, let's talk about Locket. So Locket is a very solid item for Knockleboon Dazzle. It gives us 10% heal amp for the target that we use our energy charge active on, which is perfect because usually you'll grave them, you'll cast your heal, and then you'll Holy Locket them, and that's just going to boost their heal amp even more. A little buff to Pavis. Pavis is a very, very solid item on Dazzle, along with Solar Crest. Pipe is another aura item that we can consider buying. All right, so we do have a pretty significant change to Silver Edge. So now you can cap the target's movement speed to 200. We were previously buying this against heroes like Shadow Shaman, who have a really annoying innate. I think there's going to be a lot more Silver Edges in this patch, so that's something to look out for. Not all heroes got changes. Okay, there were some reworks, but for the most part, it's just small tweaks here and there. Axe got a buff. And the reason is Battle Hunger got changed from physical to pure, and he got some better talents. Usually Dazzle matches up well against Axe because he can negate a lot of the damage with his extra armor that he gives to his allies. Now it's going to be pure damage. Just a small change. I'm not too concerned about this because, if Axe was going to kill you in the previous patch, in the same scenario, he's going to kill you in this patch. He's still the same hero. He needs his blink. He needs a dispel. And if he gets a good call, he's going to be able to kill some heroes and snowball. He still has mana problems. He's still pretty weak in the lane against Dazzle. So not too worried about Axe in this patch, but he did get some small buffs. Link's got another rework, but I feel like he's still the same hero. He's a hero that you need to buy detection against. You need to know where he is at on the map. He's going to buy Orchid and Desolator and try to get you in the back when you're not paying attention. That part of Link's has not changed. So as Dazzles, we have to be aware of it. Darkseer, we talked about this. The vacuum doesn't work on our ult anymore. Base strength increase from 18 to 19. That's great. Give us a little HP in the very beginning. No change on our level 1 damage. Int game decrease from 3.7 to 3.5. So basically every 5 levels, you're missing 12 mana. You're missing 0.05 or something mana regen. So basically nothing. This is not going to change. We're not going to have to buy a Clarity or whatever else. It's going to be exactly the same as last patch. Damage gain per level decrease from 3.5 to 3.4. So basically, if you get to level 30, you're going to be down 3 damage. not significant. The 5% kind of sucks, but at the end of the day, if we're buying Holy Locket, you have a 10% increase on that one hero. So I don't think it's going to be that big a deal. And like I said before, we are not buying our shard for the heal amp. We are buying shard for the ability to cast projection when we're disabled. I think this is more of a rebalance. I'm going to have to play against and with Kez to see if this is good or bad. In the right hands, Kez seems unstoppable. Okay. Duration increased, huh? Did we really need to increase Lesh's Diabolical Edict, dude? So he's going to be doing even more damage? Okay, Lone Druid got some big rework, so now it seems like you can actually cast Entangle instead of praying for it. I think this is a good change. I would love to see a little more people play Lone Druid. I think it's like a fun concept hero. So I think this will help in that regard. Alfredo! Alfredo! Not too many changes for Puck. Puck is one of the harder heroes for Dazzle to play against. He's still going to be tough. All right, Ricky did get some changes. Now, I think these are slight nerfs. Slight nerfs to hero, which is nice if you're playing against him. But our nemesis is his smoke screen, which did not get any changes. So his shard with his smoke screen are what really kills us as Dazzle players. So that is still going to be there. Beware of Ricky's smoke screen shard. Silencer got slightly changed, but nothing that really concerns us. Slark is going to be a little bit tougher to play as a support because they removed his Barracuda innate. So it's like the old ult now where you get the movement speed and health regen when you're not seen. So a lot of support Slarks would use their innate ability, the Barracuda, to scout out wards in the early game, trade with you efficiently. So like they would hit you a couple times and then get regen out of vision, come back, hit you a couple times. Now they don't have that until they get level 6. So I think this is going to be purely a core hero, but otherwise it's the same hero. Now he has an additional kind of passive where he reduces your health regen, movement speed. Conceptually, he's still the same hero. The more he hits you, the stronger he gets. He still has Shadow Dance. He still has his Dispel with his Q. Spectre is very similar to kind of Clink's changes. He's still the same hero, but now there's some slight changes here and there. I think they changed a little bit of how his haunt works. Now he has an Ags that fears you, things like that. But he's still going to be the same hero. He's going to buy the same items. He's going to target you in the same way, etc., etc. We have Treant Protector. Let's talk about a little bit of his reworks here. So the big one is Eyes in the Forest. This is the one that is really, really important as Dazzles. If they're on the enemy team, you want to know where the enemy vision is. So now they kind of work like observer wards. And you do not need a Quelling Blade to kill the trees. You can just attack them if you have vision of the trees. You still need True Sight to detect the trees, but you can just attack them. You don't need to buy a Quelling Blade, which is nice. And they have the same health as Observer Wards, and they expire after 5 minutes. He did get some buffs on his Leech Seed, though, so he's just a kind of a different hero. The time-lapse cooldown reduction is insanely good. I really hate playing against Weaver. All right, I think that's it for this patch, guys. I really love this new hero. I think he's going to be a good addition. I can't wait to see what facets they give him. I think his concept of this hero is pretty fun. I think I like the sound-based system. That's unique. Well, it was great to talk to you guys again. Hope you guys are having a great day wherever you are, and I will see you guys in the next video.